Hey everybody, it's Jon from the Hustle Daily Show. Before we get into the news today, did you know that HubSpot launched an AI chatbot that helps you build awesome campaigns at scale with just a few prompts? It's called Campaign Assistant, and it's a totally free to use AI tool that will transform the way that you build marketing campaigns at scale. And the best part? It works seamlessly with all of HubSpot's marketing and sales tools to scale your output across email, social, and more. So AI your way into the most effective campaigns yet at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, November 21st. I'm Rob Litterst here with Sara Friedman and Jon Weigell, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. In the least surprising news of the day, there has been a flurry of OpenAI news over the last 24 hours. We're going to dig into what is happening and what the latest is there. But first, let's talk through everything else that's making headlines in the world of business and tech. First, a juicy rumor from Apple. Apparently, they're wrapping testing on the Vision Pro headset, which, if you remember, is listing at a cool $3,500 and will likely release it in the US in March. Honestly, kind of surprised that this isn't dropping before the holidays. It seems like something that some people would buy. Jon and Sara, are you going to buy this Vision Pro headset? What are your thoughts here?
Not for that price. I think once we iterate enough and the price comes down in a few years, I could be interested. But I know they're targeting enterprise customers at this point, so I would happily demo this. I think it's very cool, but definitely not for that cost.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the tech space would kind of jump at it just to test it out and try it, kind of as you mentioned, Sara. But I feel like, me personally, I will not be getting it. But if they come out with like what they did with the iPhone, if they have like an SE version that's maybe, I don't know, like $250, I'll give it a spin. Why not?
Dude, I have one of those and it's so small. I feel like I'm carrying a baby phone. So I definitely am with you though. It almost reminds me of Tesla, like when Tesla launched and the prices were outrageous and then they all came down and they all got more affordable. Maybe I'll get in on it one of the later rounds.
Yeah, it sounds like it has some pretty cool features. I watched a couple of videos on it.
Nice.
Marquez Brownlee did a great review of it about half a year ago. And it seems like it could take some really cool video too, but not many people have had some video inside it yet. So I'm interested to see what it looks like inside.
Yeah. Okay, so it hasn't exactly been a secret that X, formerly known as Twitter's advertising, has dropped precipitously. But an interesting developing story here. So new CEO Linda Yaccarino has hired her son, Matt Madrazo, to rekindle the platform's political advertising biz, which it closed in 2019, back when X was still Twitter. This is a really juicy one for a couple of reasons. I mean, obviously, political advertising in its own right, I think, is pretty juicy. But then secondly, that Linda Yaccarino has hired her son to manage it. Jon and Sara, any thoughts on this one?
I feel like we're saying the quiet part out loud here with the hiring of the son.
It's an interesting development.
It is an interesting development. And as you said, we have watched many political issues breaking out on X, as well as advertising issues. This is the intersection of a lot of problems on that platform. And this feels like the cherry on top.
100%. Okay, in the world of dating, Tinder rolled out a new suite of features with a Riz first redesign. I'm not going to lie, I'm aged out of that word combination. I have absolutely no idea what Riz means. The dating app says the improvements include UI updates, profile prompts and quizzes, dark mode, and more. Can somebody please inform me on what Riz first means? I'm completely clueless here.
Yes, of course. As our Gen Z analyst, if you will, I can give you the tea on Riz. Riz actually derives from the word charisma. So that's where the kids get it from. And it's mostly described as, having like charisma when, talking to a potential date or something like that, getting dates, that kind of scenario. And I guess Tinder has integrated in their business language, justifiably so.
That actually makes a ton of sense. Good move, Tinder. Yeah. And now I have a new word that I'm going to overuse for the holiday weekend.
Please do. Yeah. Please do, Rob.
A couple more in the world of automobiles. Cruise co-founder and CEO Kyle Vogt has resigned. Vogt's exit comes just 3 months after General Motors' self-driving car unit won approval to operate driverless taxis in San Francisco. I saw a couple of those. They're pretty crazy looking when you see them on the road. And lastly, Honda is recalling 250,000 vehicles over a manufacturing defect in the engine crankshaft that could cause it to stall or stop driving. Heads up to all you Honda owners, you will be notified by mail in January if your vehicle is affected. And with that, let's get on to the main story today. So before we get into it, I want to make very clear, we really, really wanted to try to avoid talking about OpenAI 2 days in a row, but it was completely impossible. There is a lot going on with this story. It continues to develop. It seems like there are a lot of big personalities joining the fray. And who better than Sara to help walk us through what the heck is going on here? Sara, can you kind of take us through a timeline? I think the real chaos started last Friday, and it's pretty much been never ending since then. Do you mind walking us through kind of like the milestone events and what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, so you're totally right. It has not stopped for 1 second. It has gone straight through the weekend. AI waits for no one. So I would say, first of all, check in on your friends in tech. They're probably not doing okay. So we're going to start at the top and just literally go through because so much has happened. So we know first, Sam Altman gets fired by the board of directors as CEO from OpenAI. That happened Friday afternoon. Greg Brockman, the company's president and co-founder, resigned in solidarity with Altman. Meanwhile, they told no one that this was happening, which included Altman himself, the employees at OpenAI, investors, and importantly, Microsoft, which has invested $13 billion into the company. The rumor is that they found out about 1 minute before this went public.
Insane.
Craziness. Yes. Then they appoint Mira Murati, who is OpenAI's CTO, as the interim CEO. Senior OpenAI employees start walking off of their jobs in solidarity. Twitter erupts. Silicon Valley is up in arms. Many workers are in support of Altman, which is not always the case when a CEO gets ousted. So I think that's notable here.
Totally.
Investors are furious with the board. And by the end of the day, the board is considering resigning in order to get Altman and Brockman back, though they continue to set and miss deadlines for that resignation. So that's this weekend.
That feels like a decent place to at least pause for a second and just kind of like dig into like some of that stuff. So we were talking about this earlier and I was telling you guys, so my wife really does not have any interest in business and tech. Like she's not into it at all. She constantly just kind of tells me to stop when I start going down these rabbit holes of tech stories. And this is one that she was actually interested in because I was putting it into context. Like Sam Altman was kind of climbing this like CEO Mount Rushmore of like the most important CEOs in tech. And it's really, really hard to break into that group. It's super, super elite and super tight. And he was the first person to kind of get a look in that precipice in a very long time. And usually when something like this happens, I feel like the company isn't doing well or there's something crazy that happens. But for all intents and purposes, from the outside, it looked like OpenAI was just an absolute rocket ship. So it's so surprising to see this happen in the first place.
Yeah, especially as you said, this is a company that is at the center of AI. It's, I think, the most notable AI company in the world. Mind you, all of this is completely still shrouded in mystery. Like we weren't given a clear reason for the firing. So speculation is swirling, and I think it just makes it all more addicting and people can't look away. That brings us to this morning, where before markets open, we find out that Altman, Brockman, and other senior OpenAI coworkers are joining Microsoft to lead a new AI research team. And that Satya Nadella, who's Microsoft's CEO, has also said the door is open to as many OpenAI staffers as can join. Then Ilya Sutskever, who is one of the board members who fired Altman, tweeted saying that he regretted his decision and would do anything he could to get Altman back. OpenAI appoints its third CEO in 3 days, Emmett Shear from Twitch. As of this recording, it will be incorrect by tomorrow. 700 of OpenAI's 770 employees have signed a letter saying that they will leave for Microsoft unless the board resigns and Altman is brought back. I'm going out on a limb that those extra 70 people were trying to be out of office for Thanksgiving and are having like the weirdest week of their life. That's just my guess. And as of now, we're still seeing reports that Altman and Brockman joining Microsoft isn't even finalized. So that could be undone by tomorrow. And also seemingly OpenAI might not exist in the morning. So this is the definition of a developing story, but that brings us to now. We're all caught up.
Yeah, it sounds like there is just mounds and mounds of panic all around Silicon Valley because of this information. And of course, let's not forget that Microsoft is the biggest shareholder in OpenAI. So they have all the power to kind of do whatever they want, it seems. And if they wanted to hire Altman, they just did. And OpenAI hired a new CEO who used to run Twitch. And boy, things are getting thick over here.
Crazy.
It's getting very, very interesting. Yeah, fascinating developments in the past 3 days?
I think all the speculation that took hold on Friday of what the heck did Sam Altman do? I read all the commentary around moving too fast with commercialization and building out the business arm of it too quickly. But if the board is trying to get him back, then clearly he didn't do anything super toxic. You would think that if there were skeletons in the closet that were really bad, they would have come out by now. I mean, this is a company that was completely on the rise and about to become one of the biggest players in tech. And to your point, Sarah, they literally might not exist tomorrow, which is just an insane. If you had told me last Monday that this would be what we were talking about today, I don't think I would have believed you. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal. Ben wrote about this and said that it feels very uniquely 2023. It's been a record-setting year for labor strikes, and all of OpenAI's employees threatening to walk off the job really fits in with that. It feels very appropriate for the time, but yeah, it's kind of unbelievable. Essentially, Microsoft acquired the most important AI company for $0 in all of this, which is kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll wait and see what happens next. Your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Every week is a new season. It is churning. This season of Succession writes itself. It is very well done.
Seriously, dude, that's spot on. Microsoft is only up 2% today, which is shocking to me. I'm sure earlier today it was up a lot more on this news. But to your point, Sarah, literally just made the best acqui-hire ever. If it all goes through, It's really unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We are a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email. Have a terrific Tuesday, and we will see you tomorrow.
Let me tell you about a show that I've been loving lately. It's called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by the incredible John Lee Dumas. It's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. I'm a big fan of this podcast. It has energy, it has value, and it's all about learning about entrepreneurship. I was just listening to an episode the other day. JLD interviewed Jay Rogers, who was such a wealth of information. He kind of went into how entrepreneurship chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, and that failure only happens when you stop trying to win. A lot of gems in this one, so I highly recommend checking out that particular episode along with the rest. So go listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts. Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late, since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.